In the 2022 season, Kurt Busch will be driving for one of the most talked about teams in recent memory, 23XI Racing. It was a move that many people did not expect due to Kurt Busch's age and position that 23XI was in. However, in the late summer of 2021, the announcement was made and the driver from Las Vegas would be in the number 45 the following season. This would mean that Kurt Busch will be driving for the 7th team in his Cup Series career. Usually, drivers will only make 1 or 2 full-time moves in their career. However, the story of Kurt Busch is unlike any other. In order to start this story, we have to go back to the very beginning. Kurt Busch would get his first opportunity to race in a NASCAR-sanctioned event in 1997 in one of the most bizarre situations. Kurt Busch would get an opportunity to race with a team called Star Nursery after their driver, Chris Trickle, would be wounded and killed in a drive-by shooting on his way to play tennis. As tragic as the situation would be, Kurt Busch did the most that he could do with the opportunity and gained notoriety in the Winter Heat Series in 1997. After a successful 98 and 99 season in the NASCAR AutoZone Southwest Series, Kurt Busch would do a tryout with Roush Racing, where he would get an opportunity in the Truck Series. It looked like things were looking up for the young driver from Las Vegas, and it was only going to get better for him entering the 2000 season. Up in the Cup Series, Chad Little was struggling in the 97 John Deere machine for Roush Racing. In the 2000 season, Little would only be able to crack the top 10 once in the first 26 races. This would lead to Jack Roush removing the Spokane, Washington driver, replacing him with the up-and-coming talent of Kurt Busch, who would finish second in the 2000 Truck Series championship. Although his 2000 Cup Series run was not too impressive, he would still score the team's 3rd best finish of the season in only his 3rd start. While we're on the topic of the number 3, Dale Earnhardt in the number 3 would flip off Kurt Busch in the 2001 Daytona 500, being the last person Dale Earnhardt ever showed someone that they were number 1. Besides that, the only real highlights from Kurt Busch's first full-time season would be 3 top 5 finishes and a pole position in the Southern 500 at Darlington. He would finish 27th in points, 2nd in the Rookie of the Year running, and would even miss the penultimate race at Atlanta. It wouldn't be till the 2002 season where we would start to see the real Kurt Busch in action.
Like I said, get back up under him, and there he goes.
Many guys will save a car like that.
Ooh, a bumper for a bumper. Dale Earnhardt, Ernie Irvan, Elliott Sadler, Rusty Wallace, and now Kurt Busch is a first-time Winston Cup winner at Bristol.
Kurt Busch would score his first ever victory in the Cup Series at Bristol Motor Speedway, a racetrack that he would be dominant at for the next decade. He was able to score the victory by beating the likes of Jimmy Spencer, a driver that he had a history with the year before. Many didn't know it at the time, but this would spawn a rivalry that would show the worst from each driver in as little as 18 months. Kurt Busch would show the world that he was the next big thing by winning 4 races and scoring 12 top 5s. However, he also proved that his temperament can get the best of him as well.
He just booted him out of the way.
Who's he racing with there? We're here and it's a red car.
Jimmy Spencer?
Yeah.
In 2003, we would see an up and down year for Kurt Busch as he won 4 races throughout the season and was part of one of the greatest finishes in NASCAR history.
Gonna be a drag race. Wow! They touch! Craven got him!
On the other end, he would have a forgettable second half of the season as he would fall out of the top 10 in points by year's end. But it was more than just a top 10 in driver's points. He would lose any support that he had with the fans before. In the summer race at Michigan, Kurt Busch and Jimmy Spencer would tangle again. Both drivers had a shot to collect the victory that day, but inevitably took each other out of contention for the win. After the race, Kurt Busch would collide with Jimmy Spencer down pit road, only angering the two even more. This would lead to the boiling point when Kurt Busch decided to pull up to the number 7's car's trailer, which led to a fist connecting to Kurt Busch's face. This would lead to a 1-week suspension for Jimmy Spencer and a wave of heat to the new outlaw of the sport.
See, I'm not very good at being bad. I was trying to flatten the 7th car fender and I got mine. I needed to be further forward on his car. And he just showed on TV, just missed by about an inch of these two, not far enough forward. Inches only count unless you're playing horseshoes and hand grenades.
What happened last week was an assault after the race, and what had happened leading up to that in the past was I've got 2 wrecked race cars out of it, and I don't respect Jimmy Spencer.
It was only a matter of time before we saw one of 2 things from the Las Vegas native. Were we going to see him finally win a championship, or were we going to see a self-implosion of his career?
He wins the title. Checkered flag is up. Greg Biffle wins the Ford 400 at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon finish 2nd and 3rd. It's not going to be enough. Kurt Busch is the 2004 NASCAR Nextel Cup Series champion.
Kurt Busch showed the whole world in 2004 that he was one of the best in the world of NASCAR. With 3 wins, 10 top 5s, and only 1 finish outside the top 10 in the inaugural chase for the Cup, Kurt Busch was able to win the championship over Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon by just the smallest of margins. In the 2005 season, he would once again enter the chase with plenty of momentum by winning 3 races throughout the regular season, including a win at the regular season finale. It seemed like Kurt Busch had everything going in the right direction for him. However, that all changed after a weekend at the penultimate race of the season. Busch's 2005 season would end 2 races short after he was pulled over for suspicion of drunken driving and cited for reckless driving by Maricopa County Police. It turned out that the Sheriff's Department fibbed the story about their sobriety equipment failing. Busch appealed, and a misunderstanding on the police's part was cleared before the races. However, Roush Racing already responded 2 days later by suspending Busch for the remainder of the season and replacing him with Kenny Wallace for the final 2 races. The Roush Racing organization declared that they were officially retiring as Kurt Busch's apologist. This meant that Kurt Busch would have to continue his career with a new team in the sport. In 2006, Kurt Busch joined Penske Racing South and drove the iconic Blue Deuce machine for the team. Kurt Busch would show success with the number 2 team by collecting at least 1 victory each season with the number 2 car. However, there was something else that started to take the limelight of Kurt Busch's talent.
Pretty much fucked, because we ain't got a fucking goddamn team. We're a bunch of fucking idiots going around with no fucking idea what we're supposed to do. Trying to fucking tell somebody back in August, but yeah, Kurt's just got an attitude. Fuck! I love to hit the fence head on and get knocked out. This is fucking bullshit. Too fast entering Kurt. Oh my god! I lost round to the 56. Fuck!
Kurt Busch's anger problem was starting to get out of control. He would continually scream at his team and would even get into it with his boss, Roger Penske. Not only that, but Kurt Busch was also producing problems on the racetrack with his fellow competitors, including the 2-time series champion and even his own brother. Something needed to change for Kurt Busch, and change would happen as Penske would swap Brad Keselowski and Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch would now be driving the number 22 Pennzoil machine, while Brad Keselowski would now drive the iconic number 2 Miller Lite. Now the regular question was being asked: what would shine brightest in 2011, his talent or his temperament? In the 2011 season, Kurt Busch would score 2 wins in the season as well as a win at both the Bud Pole and Gatorade Duels. As great as it was though, it still wasn't comparable to his anger issues he had throughout the season.
He's in your head. You've been pretty good.
I didn't say that tonight.
You did?
Did not.
Okay, I'll pull the transcript.
Pull your Twitter. Pull your Twitter.
It's not on Twitter.
Okay, Facebook.
It's not on Facebook.
All right.
You said we're in his head.
Absolutely.
It was on TV.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are you okay with asking a question?
Why the f*** think I'd be okay? I got to go get in my car. NASCAR told me.
It was clear that Kurt Busch's anger was now getting the better of him week in and week out. The season finale race at Homestead was the best example of that, as he would not only lose an engine early in the race, but would flip off both the First Lady and the future First Lady of the United States. He would also verbally assault both Dr. Cherry Punch and his cameraman.
That just makes me feel a lot better, Doctor. Can you get this motherfucker out of my face? Yeah, I'd like to do it live too. 10 minutes ago. Hey, never mind.
Kurt Busch was now public enemy number 1 in the sport. Wherever he went, he seemed to bring big problems with him. He would have a mutual agreement with Roger Penske to be released from his contract, meaning that he was once again out looking to drive for a new team. For For the first part, there seemed like there wasn't going to be any team at this point that would take Kurt Busch. However, there was one team owner who was willing to take on the challenge. Kurt Busch would drive for the small team of James Finch Racing in 2012, an underfunded team that was fighting to make it into the top 30 in owner points. Kurt Busch stated that he wasn't having fun anymore, and that he was going to therapy for his anger problems and wanted to put the fun back into racing. The world would find out quickly if Kurt Busch was going to be able to repair his career or keep going down the same slope. His time with James Finch Racing was nothing spectacular since the team was way underfunded compared to the rest of the competition. However, he was able to score a top 3 finish at Sonoma, a track where he won just a year before. It also seemed like his anger issues were starting to die down. Well, at some points.
I mentioned how much I hate this home. Just how it typically gets every week. Every week. I hate my job. You gotta start at the back with it too soon. Is there one to go yet? They want you to drop part of the back. I am in there! I'm in there! Holy behind me! I'm down! All right, man, cool down. Let's finish get some points here.
Did it impact you, how you raced, Justin? The fact that you're on probation after that, he said he was racing you.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you ask me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things, Bob.
It's racing.
It is not racing. You're in this just to start stuff, you know?
What was that?
Stop, Kurt. They want you to stop right now. They want you to
I
stop.
think that was some of the safety equipment that
He's got his,
they want you to stop.
Got his helmet off. He's not hearing them.
The safety workers were there to attend to him when he got the car refired and drove away.
The incident in Talladega would lead to Kurt Busch leaving James Finch Racing in favor of a team that was making steps in the right direction, Furniture Row Racing, his 4th team in the last 7 years. 2013 would be a strong turnaround year for Kurt Busch, with 5 top 5s, 9 top 10s, and over 250 laps led. It would be the best season for the team up to this point, and allow them to run for a championship by qualifying into the chase. The team would finish 10th overall, however, it was without a doubt a step in the right direction for the 2004 champion. Because of this, Stewart-Haas would extend a deal to Kurt Busch, one that many people did not see coming. As we have seen in the past few years, Kurt Busch had an act upsetting drivers. One he upset the most was Tony Stewart. Tony Stewart and Stewart-Haas shared ownership with the team Stewart-Haas Racing. However, the plan going into the 2014 season was to only have 3 cars. Stewart-Haas stated that he would fund Busch's ride exclusively, giving him the number 41 to race with at Stewart-Haas Racing. This team change would lead to Kurt Busch getting back into victory lane, something he wasn't able to do for the last 3 years. He was able to get the win at Martinsville, his 25th of his career, which would lock him into the newly formed championship format. He finished the year finishing 12th in points, but this points finish would solidify the fact that Kurt Busch was back into contention for victories again. It seemed like on the racetrack nothing was going to stop the comeback of Kurt Busch, but the biggest controversy of his career would come off the racetrack.
Historic news from NASCAR tonight. Former champion Kurt Busch suspended indefinitely after a judge rules in favor of Busch's ex-girlfriend who says he abused her. Busch is now the first driver NASCAR has ever suspended for domestic violence. Here, his alleged victim speaks out.
On February 20th, 2015, Kurt Busch would be suspended after allegations were made that he had assaulted his girlfriend, Patricia Driscoll, during the Dover race weekend in September 2014 in their motorhome. Patricia said Busch called her names and accused her of having spies everywhere and having a camera on the bus to watch, and then jumped up and grabbed her face and smashed her head 3 times against the wall next to the bed. This allegation would lead to Kurt Busch missing the first 3 races of the 2015 season. In the first week of March, the Delaware Attorney Office declined to file charges from the case filed against Kurt Busch. This would give Kurt Busch an opportunity to race back in the Cup Series after completing the NASCAR's reinstatement program. Kurt Busch went on to make the chase and win 2 races that season. However, it still felt like Kurt Busch was holding on to the stigma that no matter where he went, he brought controversy with him. Was he going to forever be known as a driver that wasn't worth the trouble, or could he finally prove to everyone that his talent outweighed it?
Yes. Who else is going to run out fuel?
21 is, I'm not so sure. Well, I think he's okay. He's still going.
Now, if the 47 get up behind the 21, give him a push. He might get there, but I don't know. I think this might be Kurt Busch's day. Looks like he's going to come home a winner.
Kurt Busch has been the bridesmaid in the Daytona 500. Here they come off turn 4 for the final time. From Las Vegas, the 2004 champion of the series, Kurt Busch. From Team Haas and Tony Stewart wins the Daytona 500.
First time he won the 500. What about this?
After 16 attempts to win the Daytona 500, Kurt Busch was finally able to do it in 2017, after a fuel strategy worked in his favor. This has become one of the biggest highlights in Kurt Busch's career. What was even better was that the fans were starting to lean into his favor, no longer booing him mercilessly every time his name was mentioned. At this point, the only thing people were questioning was his age. When it was 2018, Kurt Busch was entering his 18th full season in the Cup Series, a feat that very few have made in the sport. This meant that he had more years behind him than in front of him. This would lead to SHR not picking up the option to re-sign Kurt Busch following the 2018 season, leading to him signing with the 6th team of his career. Kurt Busch would sign on with Chip Ganassi Racing for a one-year deal, which many people believe that this would be Busch's final full-time season in NASCAR competition. Hell, he even had his old sponsor Star Nursery come back for one race to sponsor him. It seemed like everything was setting up for Kurt Busch to finally retire from the sport. Of course, as we've seen throughout his career, Kurt Busch's journey has not been like other drivers. In an exciting race at Kentucky, Kurt Busch was able to collect a win in remarkable fashion, which led to him signing a 2-year extension with the team. This would lead to the signing with the newly formed 2311 team after Chip Ganassi announced that he was selling his team to Trackhouse Racing. As of right now, we are less than 2 weeks away from seeing Kurt Busch start with his new team. And as we wait to see what he can do, we now know that only one thing is for certain when it comes to Kurt Busch, and that is anything can happen with the Outlaw.